I'm here with Rob Schab of Levanta, formerly of Grovia, right? So Rob, as the co-founder of Levanta, which is an Amazon affiliate platform, I believe it was launched in the last year or so. So welcome. Thank you for taking some time out of your day, Rob, to talk to me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, Joshua. Excited to talk Amazon affiliate and hopefully provide some unique perspectives to your audience here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know some other agencies and maybe some like brands have been on the platform for a year, but it seems like, according to maybe like sort of like the social media things like that, it's starting to pick up over the past 3 to 6 months, maybe in terms of interest and brands being onboarded and stuff. So I guess we want to just like dig in some of the questions, like just from a user perspective, what that would look like for some of the brands and from the managers who are on there. So first question I have is there going to be sort of any organic lift or halo effect to the marketplace for brands from the additional traffic and sales from the affiliates? So if have been an Amazon seller for the past couple of years, you haven't really been directing a lot of traffic via Amazon Associates or whatever. Well, let's give them an opportunity to experience like an organic lift. They wouldn't have to invest in like paid advertising.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm glad we're starting with that one because I happen to think that that's one of the more important components to all of this. Obviously, affiliate marketing can be a great channel for acquiring new customers and new sales, but it is more than that in this case because all of the external traffic and sales that you're driving through Levanta, hence Amazon attribution, this has a huge impact on your organic rank on Amazon. Now, historically, it's been sort of a mystery. People say this and no one really can prove it, but we've been fortunate enough to have a few agencies and brands that have been willing to actually like do some isolated testing to prove out the fact that affiliate traffic from the Amazon attribution API will indeed improve your BSR on Amazon, your organic rank, and sort of have that uptick in organic sales. One thing I'll add to this is that many brands on our platform are actually using us specifically for that. They're setting their commissions almost at break even just for the purposes of driving as much traffic as possible so they can see that organic uplift.
That's awesome. That's good. That's really good information. Specifically, have you seen any like sort of categories that are benefiting the most or types of sellers on there, or is it just across the board?
Do you mean specifically as it relates to the
Like types of products
organic
or
rank
product.
or?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess like maybe just overall. So if I'm, as you've seen like specific verticals or categories that are maybe just seem to perform really well on there so far? Is it like maybe nutrition products, home workout equipment? Is there anything like that, or do you just feel like there's been pretty consistent, improvement in production or performance across the board?
It's been pretty diverse. I think that there are some categories that we certainly have a good foothold in that, like, we're pretty confident brands in this category are going to perform well. So you mentioned nutrition, supplements in general. That's a pretty high performing category with Levanta. Anything home, kitchen, home and garden tends to do really well. Bed sheets, bedding, all that does really nicely. But you'll be surprised to find what products will work really well. We work with a curling iron company that does $700,000 a month in sales that you'd probably never heard of before. So
Yeah.
it is in some cases unpredictable who's going to come on and have a ton of success. And we like it that way. We want to be fairly category agnostic. There are a few categories that we're weak in, I would say.
Okay, that's good information. I too. This I think we have another like a later question. I was going to ask this later, but just Amazon, the credibility, the trust factor, obviously, and I think you maybe spoke to this in something an interview with you. You said that maybe like the conversion rates on average are 3 to 4 times that of like D2C. Can you just kind of back that up and talk about how obviously that would be that can be a game changer in terms of like even these publishers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is inevitably a huge game changer for publishers. They live on the CPA, so they need conversions to happen, and they want to send traffic where shoppers are going to convert best. And that's Amazon. Amazon is the highest converting shopping cart in the world. I mean, shoppers use Amazon religiously. Even just some anecdotal examples. If I know that I need a certain blender, maybe from Ninja. I'm not gonna go to Ninja's website. I'm gonna go search for that product on Amazon. Even when I already know the brands, and even when I find them on D2C sites, a lot of times I'm still going to search for them on Amazon. So yeah, it's no doubt that Amazon has the highest conversion rate. It helps publishers, and as a result of that, it helps brands. You can work with these publishers who want to promote Amazon, and you can offer them this additional commission and give them a reason to promote your product on Amazon versus all of the other competitors that may be on Amazon as well. So it kind of works two ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you heard of publishers going back and updating like links and things like that? Or what would that look like from, because I'm more on the agency brand side. So what does that, do you have any insight into what that looks like from the publisher perspective? If if they wanted to, get increased commissions on with a brand that just joined Levanta. What would that process look like for them?
Yeah, I mean that certainly happens where, especially when we look at our media buyers who, they'll put together some content, like a listicle, for example, top 10 curling irons, and then they'll go buy ads to that content. If they know that, hey, I can actually get an additional 20% on one of the products I have on this listicle, maybe they'll move them up in that content. Or maybe it's already number one, but just because they know they're going to get a lot more commission on the back end, they're willing to put a lot more spend towards that article. So, consequently going to drive a lot more sales to your brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think obviously with the commission rate and the conversion rate also being huge factors in that, I guess it too would be interested to see, I don't know if you've spoken to any publishers, I don't know this answer myself, is like what they're doing with all that historical content, the publishers too, are they trying to go through and update any links? I don't know what that process would look like, but I'm sure there's a huge room for extra monetization for them there. So I'm sure they've got someone on there. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, absolutely. When there's products in our network that they're already promoting, they will oftentimes go get that additional monetization. But again, it opens up the door for them to do, okay, well, we know we're profitable on this product now. Let's go do more content around it. Or, maybe we boost this existing article that we already had that product in. Maybe we put it on our homepage or feature it in our newsletter. So, yeah, I mean, there are certainly sort of that retroactive monetization that they're doing, but a lot of the times that's fueling additional growth.
Yeah. This is a question, has there been any iterations of like platform software, anything like that that's kind of worked similar to Levanta before? And I guess like how sort of proprietary or private is this is working with Amazon? Is it an open space? Like, what does that look like from kind of like the platform perspective?
I suppose I'd have to get a little bit more specific into what you're asking here. We are relatively unique to this space. Like we are sort of, pioneers, I would say, as far as integrating with Amazon attribution in order to sort of create this affiliate network-like experience. But, this isn't new. Obviously, you know this, and most of your audience is going to know this, Joshua. But, affiliate marketing and these affiliate networks have been around for decades. We look at Impact, CJ, Awin. We're not all that different from your traditional affiliate platform or affiliate network. We're just specifically tailored towards Amazon sellers. So, there isn't some sort of secret sauce, I suppose. It's not all that exclusive. We just happen to be, first to market with this and probably the best at building this kind of technology. So I suppose we have an advantage there.
Yeah. And I guess do you see or have you even heard anything about other networks trying to expand or kind of like you're saying you're first to market from the Amazon? Is there, do you think that's sort of a strategic move for them or do you think it's maybe further down the line or not at all?
Yeah, it's certainly something that these traditional networks need to be looking at, and many are. I won't probably get into the details of what their plans are, but I'm sure you'll see some news in the next few months.
every day, not necessarily. I'm sure that always changes for sure happening in the affiliate world. I guess for subnetworks. So I've worked in there in terms of Levanta. I've been in there for about a month with a client. So I'm still feeling out the platform and everything. Cool. That's very impressed so far. I think there's a good publisher base. I think the user experience is pretty nice. So I guess one of the questions would be subnetworks. And I didn't see a ton of subnetworks. I guess what is your stance on subnetworks, policy on subnetworks? Do you guys what do you guys see in terms of like publisher transparency?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. We're definitely not opposed to subnetworks at all. The fact that you don't see all of the subnetworks that you're used to, it isn't necessarily a matter of we're not letting them in. We are certainly open to considering most affiliate types at this point, especially by popular demand amongst our sellers. We do have a lot of sub networks from Sovereign to Brand Cycle to even Flex offers Genius Link Gardener Network. One big one that's missing is Skimlinks. You probably may have noticed, but there's one thing I will point out on the topic of sub networks, and that's that like even the ones that we do have in our network aren't the top performers. Whereas, if you go look at like an Impact or a CJ or an A-Win, you're going to find that those sub networks are oftentimes the biggest affiliates in those platforms. What lies on the other side of those sub networks that are driving the majority of the revenue is really going to be your coupon, cashback, loyalty, rewards type affiliates, and much more. But those are certainly like some of the bigger affiliates in those sub networks. It just so happens that like our platform actually doesn't cater incredibly well to those types of publishers. And when I say our platform, I suppose more than that, Amazon doesn't generally cater that well to those types of publishers. Like we're linking specifically to product pages, whereas a coupon site generally wants to link to a brand page or a D2C website. So, they're immediately, that kind of takes the big coupon use case off the table. Another example is, we don't really work with cashback sites due to Amazon's strict privacy around user data. Well, cashback sites really need to track the user level data, the click level data, and Amazon doesn't ever allow for that. So again, that takes cashback off the table. So, when a subnetwork has a lot of those publishers, it doesn't really make a ton of sense to use those publishers for your Amazon store. On the flip side of that, and I'm sorry for the big rant here, we have a ton of publishers that drive a ton of incremental revenue to our brands and our sellers that you may not otherwise see in your traditional affiliate networks. Like Hyphen Social and Love to Know are good examples of affiliates that have a massive presence in the Amazon space, but not a huge presence in the D2C world. And those are just a few of many examples of that.
Yeah, it makes sense, and that wasn't I didn't because I know that there are a few partners, not a ton that I know of, but they do require some sort of pixel or some sort of code placed on the site and everything with like so then that kind of ties into the user data thing. Is that you're not able to, or that's not a critical piece for you, right? It's very interesting.
I mean, and I saw that you had that question written down for this, and it is like both a challenge for us, but it also can be a good thing in some ways. Like again, we don't get the click level post back data that you might get with an Impact or a Tune or Has Offers, and that again that does limit us working with certain types of publishers. You would think that that also means you can't work with media buyers because they don't have the ability to optimize their campaigns with like a Google Click ID, for example. Well, it just so happens that media buyers are some of our biggest incremental revenue driving affiliates. So, all of these publishers are coming up with unique ways to use Levanta just because they know that the commissions and the offers that we have on our platform are so lucrative that even despite not having that click level data that they may need, they're still figuring out a way to make it happen. So it is. Yeah, it's definitely a very nuanced world we're dealing with here, but it's all new and it's growing.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Cool. Can you speak to that a little bit? Maybe you said the media buying, because I feel like the rise of media buyers within affiliate marketing has been, I'm sure that been around, but I feel like again is that the coupon loyalty cashback, like that kind of space has always been like really prevalent in what people think of content when they think of affiliate marketing as a huge driver, I guess, on the platform. Can you speak to like how, I guess, in the Amazon ecosystem or publisher ecosystem, how they're working or seeing success?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, media buyers are hugely important to Amazon sellers and brands. If you're selling on Amazon and you're not partnering with media buyers in some aspect, you're missing out.
Mhm.
Just to give the listeners a little bit more insight into what I mean by media buyers, because it can be, up to interpretation, but we have a lot of affiliates that are going out there creating articles, whether it's specifically like a top 10 curling irons or top 10 dehumidifiers, or maybe something a little more broad, like 14 products you need for the spring, right? or 10 best Father's Day gifts. Both of those types of content are benefiting from affiliates going out and buying either search traffic or social traffic to that content. The content is filled with Amazon products, and then they link out to Amazon Associates links with Levanta monetization, so that the publisher in essence is hoping that they're going to make more money on the commissions than they're spending on ads. When they find something that hits, they can drive enormous volumes. And again, this is completely incremental revenue, right? They're driving net new shoppers, net new customers, net new revenue. Whereas, again, with some of your traditional affiliates, bottom funnel, you may not be seeing that incremental lift. So, it's a huge part of the strategy for our sellers.
Awesome. I know that right now it's currently, and maybe you can explain this, I'm not 100%, is there's some sort of like basically like a 10% sort of cash back or something for brands, right, on commissions that they pay out. Can you kind of speak to that? Is that the right number in terms of, or does that vary, or what does that look like?
It's the right number. I would say maybe the wrong term, just because
Okay.
we use cashback so much in the affiliate space. We don't want this to be confused with that. It's called the brand referral bonus. I think that you're referring to, right?
Yeah,
Maybe you've
brand
heard
referral
it.
bonus, yeah.
Brand referral bonus is essentially a 10% kickback. It is cashback in some ways, but it's a 10% bonus to the seller for any sales that they generate through external sources, whether that's maybe they're buying Google ads or Pinterest ads or using Levanta. However they're tracking external traffic with the attribution API, they're going to get that 10% kickback on those sales. A lot of them are, of course, passing that 10% back to the affiliate. Some of them are keeping it and maybe even giving a lower commission and making money on affiliate sales. So, it is definitely a unique part of all this.
Cool. And the last question I have, I guess, is what do you see? You talked about this being new. I'm sure that you guys have seen some challenges already and kind of worked through them, found some solutions. So maybe just the platform is yours as far as what do you see next for it? Are you looking just to kind of recruit more brands, bring more publishers, do everything at once? Like what's the main intent for you?
Yeah, I mean, I could probably talk about this for hours,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you nailed on one big piece of that, and it's growing both sides of the marketplace. As a business, of course, we want to grow as much as possible, but maintaining a healthy balance of both supply and demand on this marketplace is incredibly important to us. So yes, we're growing the seller side of our platform at lightning speed. We need to keep recruiting publishers and affiliates and creators to keep up with the growth on that side. And as you pointed out, we're doing a pretty dang good job of that. We've got a lot of your big content commerce folks. We've got a lot of media buyers. We have 3,500 creators overall in the network. I'd love to get that closer to 10,000 before the end of the year, and just continue to see that growth. I could go on from there if you're interested, but
Yeah, I'm sure there's so much to do. Well, I appreciate your time, Rob. I think there's some extremely useful information here for hopefully anyone who's listening, and some things that maybe you spoke about or sort of shared that weren't maybe public access or just you couldn't find on the website or something like that. So just common knowledge. So I think that it's a really awesome thing in terms of sharing this perspective with us. So I appreciate your time and the answers.